So I'm sure that everybody knows by now that Joy Reid has been canned. She's been kicked to the curb. Her smugly face and her short blonde hair and her unbelievably crappy attitude and hatred towards everything that is not Joy Reid has been put out to pasture where she belongs. And I'm kind of shocked it took this long because MSNBC, the people coming into MSNBC, the big shakeup going on over there, has finally realized, you know what, you cannot build a following on hatred and vitriol and lies, which is all Joy Reid did. Don't believe me? I'll play you a couple clips here in a minute. But that's all she did. And Joy Reid literally hates everybody who's not Joy Reid. If you're white, she hates you. If you're black and conservative, she hates you. If you're Jewish, she hates you. If you did not vote for Kamala, she hates you. If you did not support Joe Biden, she hates you. If you do not think Barack Obama is the greatest president ever, she hates you. And you cannot build a show on that. And that's what she did. And somehow people watched it. I don't know why. I've seen the show twice. It's pathetically bad. It makes me want to gouge my own eyes out and burn the hair off of my head. What hair I got left? That's how bad the show is. And they finally woke up at MSNBC and said, you know what? We're getting our ass kicked by the Hallmark Channel. People would rather watch some crappy written, crappy acted, sappy, mushy, crappy love story than get news from MSNBC. What does that tell you? That sums up the entirety of the failure of MSNBC right there. Nothing else needs to be said. Well, we're MSNBC. Well, Hallmark's better. Face. There's nothing else you can say after that. You have no comment. You have no retort when I say Hallmark's actually putting up better numbers than MSNBC. You're a 24-hour news station and you're failing at your job. You're not reporting the news. You're a propaganda machine for the left-wing nut job, DNC. That's why your viewership is so bad. That's why the shakeup over at MSNBC. Now, my personal opinion is Rachel Maddow needs to be the next one to go. She's a lying hack if ever I've seen a lying hack. You know, she just come out with that big gaffe, Donald Trump giving Elon Musk, what was it, 400 million? I don't know what it was, the exact number, for armored cars. That's what you get for being buddies with Donald Trump. You get paid. Oops, that was Joe Biden who did that. And then she gets called out on her stupidity. And then her comeback is, I made a mistake. That's literally what she said. No, you didn't make a mistake. You were uninformed like you are every day at your show. You were completely uninformed and you made a blanket statement without knowing the facts. And then when you get called out on it, I made a mistake. And that's all you have to say. Because you don't care. Because your viewership, which are left-wing nutjob liberals, will forget that within 20 minutes. And then you will just move on to the next falsehood, the next lie, the next TDS DEFCON 1 meltdown that you're going to have, Rachel Maddow. And that is why Joy Reid got canned. Because she was constantly at DEFCON 1 TDS. Every day of her life was nothing but hatred, nothing but vitriol for everybody that is not Joy Reid. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to play you a couple of clips here in a second, but let me just read a couple of things here for you that I've got from reading this article that Joy Reid is fired. Joy Reid, you're fired. I wonder if Elon Musk got a chance to look at MSNBC's books and said, well, you're paying this lady way too much for absolutely nothing. Nothing. Joy Reid she's nothing. She's a game show host at best. Maybe they took Elon's advice and kicked her to the curb. But MSNBC's new president, Rebecca Cutler, is planning to announce additional programming changes across dayside, weekends, and primetime. A source familiar with the plans told Fox News. And yes, I'm reading this off of Fox News. Jen Psaki, current host of Inside with Jen Psaki, is expected to end up with more airtime. I find that to be absolutely amazing. This is a woman who lied to the American people every single day of her life for 8 years. Alex Wagner, who was bumped from hosting a primetime program when Rachel Maddow pivoted from hosting her show once a week to nightly for the first 100 days of the Trump administration so she could tell more lies, will remain with the network as a correspondent but is not expected to host the 9 p.m. ET program going forward. And this is part of the shakeup that's going on over at MSNBC because, like I said, they finally realized their network was going nowhere. Jen Psaki is going to get more airtime. I find that to be absolutely amazing. And they're actually bringing in some people to replace, to make up the airtime for Joyless Reid. And they're not doing any improvements whatsoever. They're putting in people that are literally no better than Joy Reid. So I really don't understand what the thinking is over there. You would think they would bring in somebody notable, somebody with some notoriety, and try to put together a real news show. But apparently they're not going to do that. Apparently they're just going to bring a bunch more hacks over there and just try to fill out the time slots. The Readout has recently struggled to attract viewers, averaging only 973,000 total viewers during February 2025, compared to 1.3 million during the same month in 2024, marking a 28% decline. And her show's been on decline ever since. It is not getting any better. And like I said, when you're trying to build an entire show off nothing but vitriol and hatred, you can pretty much expect this is what's going to happen. So to kind of give you an idea of, Joy Reid and her absolutely fantastic legacy, I'm going to play you a couple of clips here and enjoy the final moments of Joy Reid.
Courtesy of Donald Trump, who closed his repulsive campaign by dropping the B word on Nancy Pelosi. The breakdown by education was stark. Harris won 57% of white women with college degrees and lost 63% of white women without them. It was also men. Trump won every age group of men, including 60% of Gen X men and 6 in 10 white men. Also Latino men, who despite the utter disrespect shown by Trump and his promise to deport some of your mixed status families, most of them voted in a 55% majority to make the deportations happen. Y'all voted with Stephen Miller and David Duke and against your own sisters and chose Kamala Harris with 60% of their votes. So you own everything that happens to your mixed status families and to your wives, sisters, and abuelas from here on in. However, we only have so much time for blame. We now need to make a plan.
Well, so apparently their plan, and I'm going to go ahead and clue you in on the liberal plan. They lost everything on November 5th. Oh my God, we lost everything. Let's jump off of our sinking, dying ship and let's reformulate. And then 2 weeks later, they jumped right back on their sinking, dying ship. That was their plan. Great job, liberals. But this is exactly what I'm talking about with this clown, this moron. She's full of hatred. And I'm going to tell you why the Latino voters voted for Trump. All right? I'm going to tell you right now. Because I know Latino people who spent years getting through the system to become American citizens. And let me say it again for all you brain dead, smooth brain liberals. Years going through the system to become legal. Now, why the hell would I want somebody else walking across the border and getting for free, actually getting more for free than I had to bust my ass to get? I don't give a shit if they're from my same race or not. I could care less. And it just blows my mind that Joyless Reid is so ignorant, she does not understand that. But I love the comparison that she makes, that Kamala Harris won with more educated white women. The uneducated white women voted for Donald Trump. So let's put this in perspective a little bit here. Joyless Reid, or fired Joyless Reid, out of a job, Joyless Reid. I'm going to go with that from now on, out of a job, Joy. So let's go with that, out of a job, Joy. So you're talking about the blue-collar people that keep this country going? So what you're saying is they're beneath the college-educated people. That's exactly what you're saying, that these people don't mean as much as the people with these really fancy degrees that chances are went to work for Joe Biden, which chances are the reason that whatever approval numbers he had on jobs is because of the government, because let's be honest, that has been the fastest growing segment in the last 4 years, was working for the government. And that's what inflated Joe Biden's numbers. So, but you're going to demean all the women without college degrees that work in the factories, that work in the child care centers, that do these meaningless jobs, the people that are servants, not servants, servers, I'm sorry, or servants, hell, they're servants. The people who are servants, the servers, the cooks, the chefs, the ones who manage the restaurants. So you're saying they're not as important as the college-educated liberal nutbags from Harvard and Yale and Brown, you're saying those people have more value than the other people. Do you ever think of maybe that's why you lost your job, Joy? I mean, what kind of statement is that? I have a college education, as does my wife. So are we better than everybody who does not have a college education? No, we're no better than anybody. We're literally no better than anybody. Just because we went to school does not mean we live on a highest status ladder. And if Joe Biden and the fascist liberals had gotten their way, that, they would build a resort on the moon, and all the educated people would get to go up to the moon to live and live in, all this high-end luxury where everything's the best of everything and eat lobster and steak every day while the peons dwindle down here on the rotted, polluted earth. Absolutely insane and asinine. This is why Joy Reid lost her job. And this is absolutely why the ratings at MSNBC have absolutely hit the tanker.
You know what's so interesting, too, is that I have actually never heard a person who isn't an economist or works on CNBC. I used to do CNBC a lot as a guest. I actually used to do Larry Kudlow's show all the time, a couple times a week. And the only people I ever heard here use the word inflation are journalists and economists, right? So that is not part of the normal lexicon of the way people talk. So it's interesting that Republicans are doing something they don't normally do, right? Which is not use the common tongue, right? Not use just common English to sort of do on their campaigns like they're doing with crime. But what they've done is they've taught people the word inflation, right? Yeah. Most people who would have never used that word ever in their lives are using it now because they've been taught it, including on TV, including in newspapers. They've been taught this word.
Now, at one point, does somebody not sit here, watch this, and think, you know what? Bad idea. You literally just called everybody on the right an idiot. But that's okay because you're Joy Reid. And Joy Reid hates everybody who's not Joy Reid. If you voted for Donald Trump, Joy Reid hates you, and you deserve to be hated. If you did not vote for Kamala, Joy Reid hates you, and you deserve to be hated. If you did not back Joe Biden, Joy Reid hates you, and you deserve to be hated. If you did not come here illegally across the border, then Joy Reid hates you. How dare you come over here and get your citizenship the illegal way? How dare you do that? Joy Reid hates you. And so, therefore, Joy Reid is out of a job. But according to brilliant Joy Reid, that we're so stupid that until Donald Trump and the media taught us the word inflation, we had no idea what inflation was. I mean, just think of all those classes we took on economics in college. Oh, my God. And, now that I think about it, nobody ever used the word inflation in economics. Thank you, Joy Reid, for pointing out my stupidity that I'd never heard the word inflation. And thank you, Donald Trump, for teaching me and the GOP for teaching us what the word inflation is. This is how stupid Joy Reid is. And she's so ignorant that she actually believes this bullshit that comes out of her mouth. And once again, out of a job, Joy, this is why you're out of a job, because you're a moron. Now, let's move on to another fantastic parting clip from Joy Reid.
Well, here's the question that I have on that. These two men are both elderly. Donald Trump is an elderly man who, for whatever reason, was given 9 seconds to take a iconic photo op during an active shooter situation. Weird situation. We'll figure that out one day. But his survival of that and bouncing right back and going right to his convention is being conveyed in the media world as a sign of strength. This current president of the United States is 81 years old and has COVID. Should he be fine in a couple of days? Doesn't that convey exactly the same thing? That he's strong enough, older than Trump, to have gotten something that used to really be fatal to people his age. So if he does fine out of it and comes back and is able to do rallies, isn't that exactly the same?
It should.
I mean, it's not exactly the same. It's not the same incident, but it's an elderly man coming through out of an illness.
It should.
So here you can see Joy Reid. I gotta wipe my hands of this one, man. This takes it all. This takes it all to me. Joy Reid is literally comparing the very mild variant of COVID that Joe Biden has to Donald Trump taking a bullet. Absolutely amazing. Now, before I get into this segment, I normally do not say this on my show, But please subscribe to the channel because your subscription does a lot for the channel, especially a small podcast like mine that I'm trying to get up. Normally I put up content regularly, but I have been sick and I had to take some time off. I think it's been close to a week since I put anything up. And I'm still coming over the other side of it. But please subscribe to the channel. It costs you nothing to subscribe, and please give it a thumbs up because that helps the channel tremendously if you like the video. It helps the video it's a huge help to everything about it just by a simple thumbs up. You wouldn't think it makes that big of a difference, but it actually does. So please subscribe, please give it a thumbs up. And if you are watching this, I just want to say thank you for watching. But back to Joy Reid. So, like I said, Joy Reid was actually, COVID had many, many variants of COVID. And some of them were devastating, like Delta. That was the one that really knocked America on its ass. I had Delta. My brother had Delta. He sat in a warehouse for 30 days of people with Delta because he couldn't get out. Hell, he couldn't even walk. The whole right side of his body was blood red, where he had coughed so much he actually ruptured an artery in his abdomen and the blood settled while he was sleeping on his right side. My sister-in-law, they put her in a medically induced coma for almost 45 days from Delta. The shit was serious, not a laughing matter at all. But Joy Reid is going to talk about Biden's case of COVID, which was nothing more than a sniffle. And I know because I also had that variant of COVID. I've had several variants because I'm a musician, and it seems like every time we play a venue, somebody walks in with COVID and boom, everybody's got COVID. But I've had COVID multiple times, and I've only been sick twice out of all the variants, all right? The other 4 times, and yes, I've had it 6 times. One was a sore throat. The other 3 were nothing. They were sniffles, maybe a little, that was it. And that just happens to be what Joe Biden had. And this idiot, and the bad thing about it is lying Jen Psaki is going to agree with her, is trying to compare Joe Biden's extremely minor case of COVID to Donald Trump from a bullet missing his head by less than an inch and shooting him in the ear. So I'm going to make another comparison for the idiot liberals and for out of a job Joy and Jen Psaki, lying Jen Psaki. So the guy that was over in Afghanistan that hits an ID or whatever have you, takes some really hard shrapnel and loses a limb. I'm going to compare that to being the same exact thing as me stubbing my baby toe. It's the same thing. According to Joy Reid and Jen Psaki, those are the same thing. A very minor case of COVID is the same thing as a bullet whizzing by your head, almost ending your life and hitting you in the ear. And from the grace of God, you just happen to turn your head at the exact moment that bullet is heading at you, which causes it to miss your brain. Because that's where the bullet would have ended up. So because of that, then I'm going to say a veteran who gave his life, risked his life in the war, that lost a leg is no worse than a stubbed toe, according to Joy Reid and Jen Psaki. But let's move on to another fantastic clip from Joy Reid.
Trump, Hitler was also viewed as a clown, a goon who could be kept in line. And then there are the accommodations that the media makes with autocracy. In November 1922, the New York Times gave its readers their first glimpse of Hitler. It was a profile of the fascist leader's early rise in Bavaria and Germany that got a key point very wrong, asserting that, quote, Hitler's anti-Semitism was not so violent or genuine as it sounded. Before he rose to power, Hitler staged a coup known as the Beer Hall Putsch. It was a coup that failed. Sound familiar? Hitler went to prison for it, but the failed coup set the stage for Nazi Germany. And when he was freed from prison just over a year after the failed putsch, the Times offered this unfortunate and incorrect assessment, that Hitler had been tamed by prison. The next year, Mein Kampf was published. So much of this sounds familiar, and believe me, I wish it didn't.
So here you see where, hateful Joy, out of a job Joy, compares Trump to Hitler. But let's talk about fascism for a minute, because I can tell you right now, I'm going to say 99.9% of all liberals that I know have no idea what the word fascism is, but they love to throw that term around like they know exactly what it means. But let's talk about fascism for a second. What do fascist people in power love to do? They love to persecute their political adversaries and weaponize their government and their militaries against that person to keep them out of office. Sound familiar? Kind of sounds like something Joe Biden would do, didn't? Oh, Joe Biden did do that. What else does a fascist do? They tell you what kind of car you can drive. They tell you what kind of straw you can drink out of. They tell you what kind of utensils you can use, what kind of food you are and are not going to eat. Kind of sounds like Joe Biden. This is the kind of stove you can cook on, but you can no longer cook on this stove. That's what a fascist does. That's what a fascist is. And for all of you idiot liberals who have no idea what a fascist is, don't go over to Wikipedia and look up the definition that says a white wing group. Because when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, and you can look this up, because the one thing liberals love to say is cite it, cite it. Do your own homework, liberals. We know you all don't like to work anyway, so do your own homework. Wikipedia literally had to shut down for 24 hours because when Donald Trump won the election in 2016, there were so many liberals logging into Wikipedia to change the definition of everything that had to do with anything on the right to make it into a right-wing conspiracy group, fascism. Everything on it. Wikipedia literally had to shut down to prevent so many people from logging in. Now, what Wikipedia should have done was said, hey, you all cannot change the definitions of this to sort your ideology, but they did not. So get the real meaning of fascism and then compare it to Joe Biden. The two are pretty damn similar. But Joy Reid, once again, building her show off of hatred and the full hate of people who are not Joy Reid. If you're not Joy Reid, then I hate you. If you're not me, if you're not Trace Taylor, I hate every one of you. I'm going to take the Joy Reid model. I'm going to hate everybody who's not me. Absolutely pathetic. She must have had a very lonely, bad life. But, encouraging people to believe that Donald Trump is a fascist and was Hitler-like is exactly what caused the Democrats to lose the election. Even the Democrats with a brain come out and said, what is this bullshit? He's not Hitler-like. He's not a threat to democracy, but the liberals kept running with it. And I want the liberals to stay on that sinking ship that they jumped off of for 2 weeks after November 5 when they lost the election. We're getting off the ship. We got to revamp. We got to rethink everything. 2 weeks later, they're right back on the ship, pushing the same exact bullshit they were pushing before because it served them so well in the election last time. So please stay on that ship. So here we go. Let's go ahead and do another one. Now, this happens to be one of my favorite Joy Reid videos where she trolls MAGA ahead of Thanksgiving when they're eating their tofurkey. This is just an absolutely fantastic video. And this is, in my opinion, the reason why hateful, out of a job Joy lost her show.
But you right-wingers shouldn't have to suffer the consequences of your votes. You don't want to be around me because I voted for fascism. No fair. I'm coughing on you with COVID, but you want me to wear a mask for your safety? No fair. My body, my choice. Well, here's an alternative thought. Make your own dinner, MAGA. Make your own sandwiches. Wipe your own tears. Troll amongst yourselves with Elon and leave us alone. You got your heart's desire, the president you dreamed of, and worship instead of Jesus. And this time, you didn't even have to storm the Capitol, smash the windows, or try to kill police officers or issue death threats to poll workers. See? You did it just by voting this time. Congrats. You got your way. And he even got away with breaking the law. Yay. But if you expect the 73 million who voted for the prosecutor, not the felon, and particularly the 92% of black women who voted for Kamala to give you a cookie for your vote, a trophy, a hug, a high five, you might be asking too much. If we want to eat with you, we will. But if we just want some peace over the holidays and we don't want to put up with your trolling while we eat our tofurkey, get over it. Stop acting like we owe you. And for God's sakes, stop whining. It's embarrassing. Our Thanksgiving, our choice.
And there you have it. And that's exactly what I was talking about. Joy Reid hates everybody who's not her. Joy Reid hates everybody who did not vote for Kamala Harris. Joy Reid hates all the black people who are Republicans. Joy Reid hates everybody who did not support Biden. Joy Reid hates everybody who does not think Obama is a god. Joy Reid hates everybody. That's not Joy Reid. And when you're constantly losing viewership to Hallmark, maybe you got a problem and maybe it's time to revamp. My personal opinion, next one on the chopping block, got to be Rachel Maddow. Got to be Rachel Maddow. She is a liar. I've seen her show a few times, and it's nothing. I'm sitting there watching and going, oh my God, she's lying. She's lying. She's lying. And nobody ever calls her out on it, ever. I think she's the next one that needs to go. But you know what? The world's a better place because we no longer have to deal with the endless articles, the endless insane comments from out of a job, Joyless Reid. So all I can say is, Joy Reid, rest in peace. I hope your career is over forever. And trust me, you will not be missed.